Good night, family of the Barbados Labour Party. I see Brother Charles in the audience. I'm seeing Ferry, I'm seeing all my people, not only those from St. Michael's East, but welcome the Pan-Africanist brethren here tonight, forming part and parcel of this important amalgamation. Last night, I spoke in Culloden Road for my brother, Kurt Humphrey. And I was there because that is the constituency that is our main target in the next election. He's going to be the first prime minister to be beaten while in office by a man who he might perceive as a political neophyte. I said then to the people, this is not a pre-election campaign. This juncture speaks about revolutionary changes in a bad situation. This is a dark time, my love. And I believe that on arriving here tonight, I must make a clear distinction between the imposters, the megamaniacs, and even the kleptomaniacs who are part and parcel of some of the other political parties. I will reserve the right to call their names at an appropriate time, but their names will be called and the evidence will be produced. There are people who know, involved in politics, that anything that is not properly put down with concrete and steel or nails, they will take it in their possession. There are megamaniacs who walking about now telling people they have a political institution. I want you to understand that if there is one political party with the legitimacy to come to the people at this particular point, it is the Barbados Labour Party, and led by a woman of character, of substance, and of vision at the right time in our history. You know, history at certain junctures have a way of throwing up the right people. And some foolish boy called Dunvin in it, that don't understand why a modern and sensible historian will go back to the first half of the 20th century, has a tendency of saying that I like to talk about the 1930s. I told you last night, and I'm going to tell you again, because I want your heads to be clear. This is about your interests, not no tourists on the South Coast. This is about malaria, the threat of malaria, any form of pandemic that might come as a consequence of the jobby floating on the South Coast. That is one part of it tonight. But you have thieves in political parties, criminals, that because they believe that we have a political culture that would allow them to do what they like and accumulate large sums of money in this country with no penalty to face, I will hope that when this party comes to office, criminals in Parliament should face stiff penalties Just like young men who go to Bassie and take up a tin of corned beef and have to be incarcerated. Then people who steal millions of dollars and inflate contracts in the government ought to have to face the same consequences, only with a more severe punishment. But you know what, the BLP is here? And I want all of you to understand this. This is no UPP. These are not imposters or megalomaniacs. We didn't get up one morning and say, I hate me, Martley. I want a political party. I walk about knocking at people's houses, begging them for votes because you hate me, Martley. And a political party that is not even criticizing the government in power that has inflicted harm and suffering on you, but said about to criticize this political dispensation. Tell them they will be taken to the task. If my brothers and sisters don't follow me in this one, do not take any chances with these imposters. They are paid by the Democratic Labour Party to undermine the Barbados Labour Party. They can't win a seat. Some of them don't even have 15 candidates. How can you be a political party and a newspaper accommodated a party that had 2 people? Well, when the candidate David Gill, 2 people, whole newspaper page saying the parties are amalgamated. 2 candidates, 2 members. Well, this is not Clown Town. You talking about the secondary and tertiary education in this country, and you cannot even make a sensible analysis of when people are coming out of Clown Town pretending that they are candidates and that they have a political party. 2 people turn up in the newspapers. Well, they can't go a president, a vice president, a treasurer, out of 2 people, secretary, branch meetings. And newspapers describe it 3rd parties, 5 parties, 6 parties, and the people who never got a branch. But these mischief makers want to do all that they can by targeting 3 or 4 constituencies. Brother Bostick, Brother Adderley. There are people with ill-gotten funds from the state that want to use it against you. I want to talk to some of the young people around here. I am not so young, but let me say this to you. Age is about wisdom. And if you're young and wise, I understand that. But when you're young and foolish, I abhor that. No man can ever give me at any point in my life $100 or $200 to vote for him and give him an opportunity to go to Parliament and end up with $16,000, $17,000 in salary a month, plus involved in all kind of political skullduggery in order to rip off the state and strengthen his affluence and make his wife smile, his children smile. When you got problems with the universities, he has no problems with the university because he can pay for his children's university. I am concerned of that. Now look, they asked me to do my public relation man and the strategist in the Barbados Labour Party tell me, Pressy, you got 20 minutes. So it's like writing a synopsis in the university. So I got to say things that is, bam, one line. Material facts. I can't put no spice seasoning or anything or what I have to say. But I want to say this to you. There must be a rationale, a spectrum, a sociological, a psychological perspective, a spiritual rationale that makes you what you are when you call yourself a Barbados Labour Party supporter. You are more than a fan. You're close to empire. But you must be more than a fan on the cricket ground. You must have solid legitimacy for who you are. And before I came here, I stumbled on a text. I like to stumble, but I am not going to stumble into defeat. I want you to understand how we were betrayed as a people. Because this is the only political party that sprung from the bowels of the 1930s, the struggles of working class people. I am not going to be here. I know educated elite or no elites in the merchants class take over this dispensation. This dispensation belongs to the poor people. It burned from in the bosom of the poor people. And I want to say this to you. Now, an important text, it was not from a Barbadian. I don't like reading because I think that reading in some way throw cold water on the substance of a speech. But I want you to think of this. And I hope that one day this will serve as a mantra or special creed in the Barbados Labour Party. It came from a book written by a man from Martinique, a distinguished, a remarkable writer, revolutionary thinker by the name of Frantz Fanon. A book called The Wretched of the Earth. And I could not speak tonight unless I make special reference to Fanon and what he was saying to Caribbean people. Not only the people of Martinique, because he believed in some kind of autonomy of the Martinican government, but because he speaks to Caribbean people. This is what he said. Each generation must, out of relative obscurity, unknown, discover its historic mission, fulfill it or betray it. This Barbados Labour Party will never betray its historic mission as long as it has historic groundings, because we know what the people had to go through in 1937, that revolution in 37, because of the circumstances in this country. Bostic has to understand this at this point in history more than anybody else. Because in Bridgetown, there was sewage as a result of the rain coming through the porous lands in Bridgetown. Push the sewage up, pollute the entire environment there. And these people who were ignoring Bridgetown became victims of malaria. It was the people's problem. Now, when you go to Christchurch, you should have a passion and a bitterness in you for a government who since 2016 saw that filth floating on the streets in Christchurch. 2016, 2017, 2018. And don't understand the dangers that exist in this society as a consequence of the indifference, the maladministration, the greed, and only greed and selfishness of the Democratic Labour Party. If that had happened, by any malfunctioning of equipment under the Barbados Labour Party, that would have been resolved within 6 months. I don't know what this nonsense in this country comes from when people are asking you, who's going to be next Prime Minister? Prime Minister dead. People boasted at the intelligence, but you know, the doubt about your capability. So when Barry dead, who going to be the next Prime Minister? When Thomas is dead, who can be the next Prime Minister? When we get rid of Stuart, you want to know who can be the next Prime Minister? Mayor Amo Motley! Straight talk, buddy. I want you to understand these things. I'm going to just go back to Fallon because I want to get Fallon make the point about betrayal of that mission. And I want to guarantee you, it is not going to happen underneath the Barbados Labour Party because we stick firmly to democratic socialist philosophy. We don't talk foolishness. We let that Eastman walk a clown. Some man got something called, wait name, solutions. I talk about integrity. And a lot of suspects in the institution. And I can move it away from being suspects and the campaign continues. You got a Democratic Labour Party who in its manifesto talked about its commitment to education, indicating that there will always be free secondary and tertiary education in this land. Went back at the community college and repeated, the leader repeated again, and then chop off the heads of 50% of the students at the UWI, reduced the students from 10,000 students in the university. One university in a nation. Other countries got thousands of universities. You got one. And he cut out all the working class people who ain't got no money. You got natural ability. And you can become anything that you want to be. And that is why the philosophy that guided the Democratic Labour Party at the time was the right philosophy, especially as it related to that. I told you at the Israel Love Foundation that there's an African proverb that says if you put your foot in the water for the first time, when you put your foot in the water the second time, it is not the same water that you had when you put it in the first time. There's nothing complex about that. The Democratic Labour Party under Errol Walton Barrow, its philosophy drove its programs. When somebody put programs in place that is a counter to the programs that his party put in power, is a party reactionary, undermining the very foundation that the political party called the Democratic Labour Party stands on. Is that something that required academic analysis? Is it so complex to understand? You have a man that promised all you women that if you go to the welfare department for any form of maintenance and you do not get maintenance, listen to the lines of the stanza by Friendel Stewart. He said, no woman will leave the welfare department without cash in her hands. I want to see one woman put up her hands that received cash from the welfare department. I am talking about a betrayal. I am talking about black men who emerged or ascended into power and shift the wealth to a group of traditional non-black people in this society. Ask him how a man by the name, we name now, The man that got the cement, Mark Maloney. Mark Maloney. The man built a storage. Nah, Carl, you got me in trouble. The man built a storage on the Harbour Road. I can't be home for Carl. The man built a storage on the Harbour Road above a flour mill. Now every day you go to the supermarket and you eat the flour, you know. A cement dust going in the flour mill. And you cool. You are real peculiar for human beings. Ain't true? This man, Mark Maloney, put a building in Bushy Park illegally, without town planning permission, was warned, did not move it. And you know the NCF had a whole crop over there. The man, Mark Maloney, explained this to me, DLP and Friendly Short. You allow a man to build an extension that protrudes in the middle of a highway, not a back road or a gully, the highway. A young man on his way. All the family in a state of euphoria as a consequence of this young man being elevated into secondary school. You know, that was the end of the day for that young man as a consequence of that protrusion into the road on the highway. They went and asked Maloney to move it. Maloney did not move it and said he will never move it. This is a mock government in Barbados. This is a mock government. And this man continued to operate and breach good faith, and still he is given more and more contracts every day at Valerie, at the grotto, all around Barbados. Now this is what is happening in Barbados. I don't know. We're going to hear more about that as I begin to talk to you about George Pilgrim. I waiting on them, you know. I ain't tell you anything. Trust me. I will tell you about George Pilgrim at the appropriate time. Because these people want to make you believe that their hands are clean. And they say he who comes to equity must come to equity with clean hands. Ask the attorneys. These are the men who got these little catch lines that sound pretty. Now I want to say this to you. I'm going to wrap it up. I had so many things to say to you tonight because, you know, when I come to locations like this, and I got Brother Bostic, that I believe that only thing should stop Bostic from going to Parliament is death. You want a human being? No, I say in reality. We ain't dealing with a sentiment. Bostic is such a human being. If you want an example that you can't even find in the dictionary of what a human being is supposed to be, anybody ask you who is a human being, say, my friend Bostic is a human being. All day long, this man in Parliament, Pressy, you see the lot, because the more studies that come out of the Caribbean, in particular Barbados, is about poverty, about underdevelopment, about dependency. Those are the more studies that come out about these little ex-colonies. Boston is on top of all the individuals' studies. Economists, sociologists, political science, it is about poverty, underdevelopment. He studies all. He drew it to my attention that there is more poverty in Barbados now than at any time in the records of the history of Barbados, even during slavery. But I want to say this to you. I have taken this journey, and I have taken it without any form of reluctance. But I want to tell you, as short as you have allowed me to express myself in forcing me to truncate the manner in which I will deliver myself, I want to thank all of you very much for entertaining me here on this platform. Thank you very much. Joy cometh in the morning. Good night and God bless you.